Now this is the third part. So now this is the third part. We're going to show how we're going to get a section assembly from this. So this is what I have now. This is where I need to get to. I want a full section of the front view. I did this at 1:1 on a B-size sheet. So how do I now get those components to produce for me this data? It's interesting. It's going to be a two-step process. And the reason it's going to be a two-step process is if you remember back to the rules of section views, when we section an assembly, the rotational parts or components that are sectioned through the middle of the part do not get sectioned. Instead, they remain what is called in an elevated state. In other words, as if you can see them from the outside. So my fasteners here are not going to get sectioned while the body and the jaw and so forth are. Let's go look at that again. So if we look here, you'll see that the solid components, the bottom plate, the body, the jaw, the caps, those are all getting sectioned through, but these middle rotational components, which are mostly fasteners, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 fasteners, and then we've got the handle. These lie in the center of the part and are considered rotational components. In other words, they rotate at the center of the part. So they stay as if you're just looking at them from the outside and the material in front of them is not there. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a flat shot of part of this information and a section of the other part. To do this, we need to separate the components. What are we going to be sectioning and what aren't we going to be sectioning? And I'm going to do this by means of layering control. So I'm going to go to my Layer Properties Manager, and I'm going to go to my model layer, and from it, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call it Elevated Components. Now, you could have called it Rotational Components. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to change its color. I'm going to change it to yellow. Okay. So I have model item, so it's got exactly the same properties as the model layer, except the name and the color. You can use whatever color you want. Doesn't matter. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the cap. Oh, no, not the cap. I'm going to take the handle and the 4 screws. And I'm going to move them onto that new layer called Elevated Components. And they should turn yellow. Okay, so there they are, they're yellow. Now I'm going to go freeze that layer right now. I don't want AutoCAD to see them. I don't want AutoCAD to think about them, etc. And now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go to conceptual mode to take it a little bit easier on my video card. I'm going to now take a section plane. So section plane. And I want an orthographic section plane of the front. Uh-oh. Undo. So first, make sure we're at a world coordinate, section plane, orthographic front. Okay, and that's going to find, even though my UCS was out here, it's going to find the midline of the part, of the all of those parts, because they all shared the same midplane. And it's going to propose this plane here. And that's exactly what I want to see. Okay, so that's what I'm after. That's my section plane. But now I need AutoCAD to draw the section view for me. Oh, why is it not live sectioning my cap? That's a solid. That's a solid. So hopefully it's going to actually section it. We'll find out what happens. We want it to draw a front view. So I'm going to take my UCS to the front UCS, and then we're going to call up our section select our object. We're going to, I might have crashed out, okay? Right click on our control grip. We're going to generate section 2D, 3D block, and we're going to go to our section settings, okay? And this should be review. We've done this before. You should have this in your notes. Go grab your notes, put me on pause, grab your notes, and check your settings. You might need to know these settings soon, FYI, okay? So the intersection boundary is by layer, and the layer is going to be my profile visible lines layer. Okay, intersection fill, I want that hatch to be ANSI 31. ANSI 31. Okay, angle 0 is fine. Color is going to be by layer, and we're going to set the layer for that as the dimensions layer. By layer, dimensions layer. We're good. Background lines, yes. Hidden lines, no. And those background lane layers are going to be by layer on the profile visible lines layer. Cutaway geometry is no. Hidden lines are no. And curved tangencies are no. We're going to click OK. We're going to create that section. It should create my section view, and that section view should look something like that. That looks pretty good, okay? So we're going to leave that there for a minute, and what we're going to do next is we're going to put the section object, it is on the construction layer, so we're going to go now back to our model layer. We're going to unfreeze the elevated components. We're going to go to Profile Visible Lines layer, freeze the model, and freeze construction. So Profile Visible Lines layer, why is my plate showing? Oh, because it's on a, that should be on the model layer. Sorry. There it goes. Okay. Yours won't do that, mine will. So this is what I should see then, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a front view. And I'm just going to take a flat shot. Flat shot by layer continuous. And I don't want obscured lines. So show no, uncheck that. So you're just foreground lines by layer continuous, uncheck obscured lines, and create. And you're going to put this in outer space and enter, enter, enter. And then we're going to go back and we're going to turn our other layers back on. Okay, so now here's what I have. I have this block, which is my section view, and I have this block, which is my flat shot. I'm going to move them closer to each other, but I don't want them to touch. Okay, I just want them near each other. And I'm going to go over to an ASMEB single view layout. I want a front view, and I'm just going to zoom up on this. I'm going to change my scale later. Right now, I'm just going to lock it so I can work on it through here. Okay, so we're going to change a couple of things. Before we merge these two pieces together, we're going to do some work to our section block. Now, if we turn our line weights on, remember the lovely thing about the section view tool is it uses the line weights of our layers. That's a good thing, bad thing. So in one way, it's a good thing because it's going to give my object lines the thick line and my section lines the thin line and so forth. But when I have threads, these get kind of blobby like this. And we dealt with that a little bit on the week that we drew threads. So let's go back to our layer property and let's take the model layer and let's make a new one and we'll call it threads. And we'll drop the line weight on that just a little bit. I'm going to go to 4.4. Okay, so first I'm going to create that layer. Now I'm going to edit this block. So select, right click, block editor. We're going to go into block editor here and we're going to do some work. Now the first thing I'm going to do, just trust me, you've got to trust me, is we're going to adjust the hatch pattern. Notice when I select this hatch pattern, it's just for the jaw. And when I select this hatch pattern, it's just for the body. And when I select this, it's just for the plate. All of these patterns are the same angle and the same scale, but we know that on an assembly drawing, those need to be going different directions or different scales so that you can differentiate between parts. So I'm going to select this one and I'm going to change its angle here. Let's go 90 so that it's going the opposite direction from the body. Okay, and I'm going to take this one down here and I'm going to both change its angle a little bit. Maybe I'll take it to, I don't know, 160. And I'm also going to take its scale a little bit smaller. So I don't know, 0.6. So that there's a clear distinction between these parts and they're not confused as being the same. I'm going to take the two handle or two caps, that one and that one, and I'm going to adjust these together. So first I'm going to bring them down to a smaller hatch pattern. I like that 0.6, and I'm going to change the angle on that. Let's try 30. Okay. So that it is clear that these are all different parts. Now the next thing we're going to do is going to be uncomfortable. Because we're going to lay the elevated components in, we do not want to see these two background lines in there. Our part's going to lay on top of that, and you don't want a dual line there. And guess what? We're going to take our threads and delete them. We're going to take our threads, just the threads, and delete them. Just the threads and delete them. We're going to take this line and delete it because we don't want those doubled up. When they get doubled up, they're going to print poorly. Take our threads and delete them. So this is ultimately, now let's think about this. We may want to take these out, or we're going to have a double line here. Let's wait and see on that one. We can come back and take it out if we need to. Okay, but ideally, oh, these are for sure going to come out because the handle's going to lay in there. Okay, so first thing I did was adjust my hatch direction and angle so that they're all different. And then I removed all of these lines that the components are going to lay on top of. I'm going to close the block editor, save the changes. And then I'm going to come and I'm going to move my flat shot into position here. Okay, so you can see what's going on here. You can still see that this component is fitting in here and it doesn't have lines on top of lines. You would not see that line coming around on the top of this part. And so now I'm going to do my flat shot work. So I'm going to do my XPLODE on my flat shot. I'm going to use my LW option, enter, enter, and then I'm going to choose these components and tell it what layer to take these to. So these are going to go to Profile Visible Lines layer, right? These are going to go to Profile Visible Lines layer. And then my lines for my threads are going to go onto that threaded layer. Okay. So, and what that's going to do is it's going to be just a little bit thinner than the object line so that when you print that, it should look good. These are going profile viz. And the actual threads are going to go onto that thread. Okay, and so you're going to work these through. You're going to get these all adjusted. You're going to do all of that so that this all looks good. And then I set this viewport up at 1:1. It fits nicely on here. And then every assembly drawing has requirements that must be met. So take good notes. You read this in the textbook. You need to have a parts list. You need to have balloons, okay? And you need center lines. So you got to draw your center lines in. Balloons and parts list go together. And what happens with balloon and part list is a balloon is going to be a leader with a bubble, and inside that bubble there will be a number. That number must map to the item number in the parts list. Now we've provided a parts list for you here that you can work on. I'll show you how to edit that in a minute. But first we're going to learn how do we put on balloons. So take good notes here. You're going to use these notes on both this drawing and on the exploded assembly. So take good notes. This is the only time that I use a multi-leader in my CAD work for mechanical, is when I'm doing balloons for assembly drawings. And so to do that, we're going to go to the Annotate tab, and we're going to come over to the multi-leader panel here where it says Leaders. We're going to go to the multi-leader Style Manager. And we want this to be an annotative style, so annotative and new, and we call this balloons. Continue. Okay, take good notes. We're going to work through this data. So starting on the left tab, leader format. We want it straight, by block, by block, by block. The arrowhead should be 0.12 to match your regular arrowhead. That's all I'm changing here. Leader structure, leader points is 2, automatically include. Landing distance should be 0.25. That's all I'm changing here. And then content. Take good notes, okay? You must make these settings in this order. So I'm skipping this up here, and I'm going to come down and make my text style dimension and my text height 0.125, okay? After I set those two settings, I'm going to come back up here to the type, and I'm going to choose block. And the source block is going to be a circle. Okay? And click OK and close. Now on my dimensions layer, which I use for putting in balloons, actually, let's go to construction layer and let's first draw some guidelines here. So your balloons should be nice, neat, straight, and they should line up like soldiers. Can we hit F9 instead of F8? Okay, they should line up nice and neat. So I like to put in a construction line here that won't print, and then I'm going to come in on my dimensions layer, and I'm going to use my multi-leader from my part. This is the only time I use a nearest to OSNAP. Remember, your arrows should still be 30 to 60. That's going to pop up. It's going to ask for a tag number over here. This is going to be part number 1. Okay, we'll do that again. Multi-leader. I use the nearest to. Remember, these still need to be between 30 and 60. This is going to be number 2. Okay. I like to number these in a very logical order. All of my main components first. This will be number 3. Okay. I'm going to have that plate down there. Number 4. Okay. And then, I don't know, let's do this one as number 5. And we'll do the caps as number 6. And we will call this little adjusting screw number 7. And the screws under the bottom. Oops. Oops. Is number 8. Okay, now you can add a leader to this. You can select this and you can hover here and go add a leader and bring it to this guy so that you have 2 here. Now, here's the problem. If I do that here, you're going to have your leaders crossing each other up. So what you might want to do is you might want to take this guy. Can we move him? Yeah, let's move him over here. And we can move his attachment over here. Okay, so that looks really good. Notice these are all nice and lined up. They're nice, neat, they're easy to read. My machinist, my manufacturer is not going to have a problem reading these. And then we're going to edit the block. And this is a block. It is in Paperspace. So I'm going to select that table, right click, and go Block Editor. And when I'm over here in Block Editor, what I'm going to do is you can use array or you can use copy. But here's what you need to know. This text is not 0.125. The text that you use must be. So I'm going to copy this line multiple times, and I'm going to go from the end of this line to here, 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 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want one more. You're going to go, why do you want one more, Allison? Because I do. And then we're going to extend to here. Oh, hello. No, that's extrude. EX. There we go. Extend to here. Take that line, that line, that line, that line. And then we're going to take that line just a little bit more. Okay. And then you can go ahead and you can put your text in right here. So I'm going to set my text style at notes. And I'm going to use dynamic text. F3, turn my O snaps off. Okay. And so this is going to be item 1. And there's only one of those. It's called the body. And you guys were supposed to come up with a part number. Okay, so for my parts, it's MB-001. Now, once I have that text there, first, let's make sure it's on the text layer too. You can copy it if you wish. To the next one and the next one and so forth. Okay, and then you can double click on these, right? So item number 2 jaw. Make sure your numbering matches up. Okay, the next one would be number 3. Number 3 was the main screw. Okay, and then all the way to your item number 8, which mine happened to be that flathead screw. I need 2 of those. And when we do the flathead screw, there's not going to be a part number out here. And instead, what you're going to give is you're going to give a full description. 0.250-20 U space UNC dash 2A FH. MACH. Uh-oh, I need another line. That's why I did 9. Okay. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to change this. I'm going to take this, control copy. I'm going to backspace. And I'm going to do DT here. Oops, that's okay. I'll take it. And I'll need to move it. Stupid snaps. No snap off. Ortho off. All off. Okay. What's going to happen here is this data is going to come down to here. This line is going to come to here. And we're going to continue this on a second line. Machine SCR for screw. Oops. SCR for screw. And then you need to tell me how long that was. So I'm not going to tell you how long that screw should be, because that would be giving away an answer that I'm checking on this. So whatever the length is that you've determined that screw is, you need to put it in here. So I'm going to give it a non-number. I'm going to give it a number that's not true. 2.00. That's a bad number. You all know that screw can't be that long. LG. But that's the notation needed to order that screw. And so that's what needs to be in your parts list. Make sure you get that right. Okay? Okay. On the next video, I'm going to show you how to create your exploded assembly, and it'll be pretty quick. Okay? So when you're done with that, out of the text, close block editor, save changes to the parts list, and it's going to update that data right into your parts list. Okay, so sectioned assembly. See you in a minute on